It has been a hot minute since I just like sat down on the floor and filmed a video where we just kind of like had a heart-to-heart, a good little chat. The other day I was like, oh, it's been a while since I filmed a Q&A, and then I looked back and it's been like almost half a year. Literally time doesn't exist. I asked on Instagram, we all know how this goes. I asked you on Instagram to ask me questions, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of wanted to draw from like the most commonly asked questions that I've been asked recently. Things like religious trauma, sexuality, coming out, being a bisexual person in a hetero relationship, you know, all these different things. And you guys came through. So we're just going to dive right in. And yes, I have my cute little Gen Z phone cord thingy. It drives me insane, but it is very cute for the time being. So we'll keep it. I really haven't browsed through many of these at all, so we're just gonna go, it's like off the cuff here. We are really just gonna go for it and we'll see what you guys want to know, so let's jump in. Right off the bat, I noticed quite a few questions about Arizona, and I think a lot of it is just curiosity because a lot of people are moving to Arizona, a lot of YouTubers are moving to Arizona, a lot of just Californians in general, and just people from other parts of the country are moving to Arizona because it's a little bit more affordable than more expensive states. So I got asked a few questions about like the pros and cons of Arizona. And I feel like that could be an entire video. I can obviously not like speak about the whole of Arizona. I've only ever lived like in the Phoenix area, like in the valley, but a short condensed version off the cuff is pros are it's the most beautiful winter you will ever experience in your entire life. From about November until about March, it's the perfect place to live. It's so gorgeous. You can be outside all the time. It's never cold. It rarely rains. You can pretty much count on it being a sunny day every single day here, which I really love, and that does wonders for my seasonal depression. However, going into the cons, for this particular example anyway, it is so fucking hot. Like, I don't think people understand how hot it is, and they're like, I can deal with heat, I love heat, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, it doesn't go below 90 degrees, even in the middle of the night. Like, it's not enjoyable. It's one of those things where when you live in an extremely cold climate, you have to be indoors for the most part, and here it's kind of the same, except we can go in the pool. So obviously like much better than shoveling snow and things like that. Another pro of living here is it is less expensive than places like California, so I love that. If you go up in northern Arizona, you can go in the woods and there's like lots of beautiful foliage and it snows. But then when you come down to Phoenix, you're in the desert, and so you can have like kind of the best of both worlds. Downtown Phoenix is a really cool place. It's very LGBTQ plus friendly. There's like a big gay scene down there. There's also a lot of really cool art and coffee shops and local businesses. It's very blue in that area, and then obviously when you move out into the suburbs, it's a lot more red, which is another con. There's just Trump supporters everywhere. It's just also kind of embarrassing when your state is always in the news for like something wild. I mean, I feel like Arizona is becoming another Florida for just the crazy antics that people get up to here. You know, like having a recount run by a company called Cyber Ninjas that have never actually worked in an election or an audit before. You know, just really embarrassing things like that. There's so much more that I could touch on, but I equally love and hate this state. Can you touch on coming out while being in a hetero relationship, how it went / response to others? And I got a lot of questions about this. It was equally exhilarating and terrifying. Just because I'm in a relationship with a guy doesn't mean that I'm also not attracted to other genders, and so that's just a huge part of me that I felt like needed to be out. And I've known for a very long time, like I didn't really have the language and the term. I mean, if you want to watch my coming out video, for sure, check that out. But there were people who were unbelievably supportive, my boyfriend being the first. Obviously, I told him years ago. All of my best friends, of course. All of my thrift friends, literally separately, all texted me when my coming out video came out, and they were just like, I'm so happy for you. And I'd kind of told them all individually anyways, but there have been a couple people in my life who just never said anything either way, and I don't know if it's because they don't care either way or if they have some type of feelings about it. It is a little painful, but at the same time, that's kind of their life and their journey. I've had people that have told me like, maybe you should hold on to that for a little while and don't tell anyone, and it's kind of like, do you think I haven't thought about this for my whole life? And then I've also had like a lifelong homophobic family member reach out to me and say, hey, I watched your video, that was really brave. We all support you and love you and we're all behind you, you know? And it's just like, that's, I mean, I don't like to applaud bare minimum progress, but like that's pretty amazing, you know? So for the most part, it's been a really amazing experience. I have gotten some pretty horrendous comments online of people being like, you should be ashamed of yourself, you should be embarrassed for your boyfriend, like I'm embarrassed for him, etc. Those people are weirdos, but other than that, people have been really amazing and I'm really happy I did it. How do you manage your emetophobia? I don't have a very good method for managing it. It's just kind of like a tough it out type of thing. I avoid triggers when I can. For those of you that don't know, emetophobia is the fear of vomiting. I've had it since I was about 6 years old, I want to say, is when I first noticed it. It's been something I've struggled with pretty much my whole life, and it's kind of controlled my life in a lot of ways. I think I might do a separate video about it, but I've talked about it here and there on my channels before. I talked to other people who experience the same thing. You know, I have friends who also have emetophobia, and that's extremely helpful. I remember when I first kind of started going on the internet, I think I like Googled something about it and I found a forum of people who, it was literally just like blew my mind wide open. I was like, there are people who think the exact same things as me. I felt like I was insane. I felt like it was just this like thing, this big secret, and honestly, it was life-changing. So like finding a community of people who also understand, I'm sure there's like Reddit threads and tons of forums online, so that was really helpful, and just having like a support system. Also having the people in your close circle know about your emetophobia and know ways to avoid triggering you. Like for example, when I'm having a thing where I'm like, oh, I ate something, I'm scared I'm gonna throw up, like Drew is always the one to reassure me, you're not going to throw up, that's not going to happen. Like, you know, reassuring me and just rationalizing it for me really helps. So, I mean, definitely each person has their own personal journey, but I could be a lot better about managing it, that's for sure. When was the moment you realized you liked Drew more than a friend? Love you. I love you too. And honestly, I can remember the exact moment. Keep in mind, for those of you that don't know, my boyfriend Drew and I have been together for like 4.5 years, but before that we were friends for like 8 years before we started dating. So it's definitely been like a journey. Christmas of 2016, so it was like shortly before Drew and I started dating. I was in his niece's room with him and we were building some Lego that she had just gotten. This Lego set, and we were putting together this little airplane and putting like the little Lego people in the airplane, and Drew was like telling his niece, he goes, we're gonna have a woman fly the plane because women just need to be in charge of the world. And like, and it was just like that moment that everything shifted. And honestly, he said that that moment for him was like right shortly after we met in like 2009. So I mean, whoops, but better late than never. I just always thought it was like off limits. You know, I didn't know that it was an option to date him. So yeah, I remember that moment specifically. And then like shortly, you know, 2 months later or so, we had the talk. Maybe I'll talk about that someday. Are you ever worried that YouTube/social media won't be sustainable as a job long term? Sure. Yeah, I think that that's like a reasonable thing to be afraid of. I don't think that any internet-based career is guaranteed because platforms are ever changing. You know, Facebook used to be like the thing, even MySpace. I mean, people aren't on MySpace anymore. Do I think that social media jobs and YouTube jobs are gonna be around for a while? Yes, absolutely. Are they gonna be around forever? I have no idea. So we'll see, time will tell. But as far as like, is it a sustainable career for life? Probably not, just because of how draining it is mentally. I feel like every single person I know whose full-time job is YouTube has a really like strong mental health plan in place. Like, we're all in therapy, we all have damage from, it's just not normal to have so many opinions about people being thrown at you constantly. There's pros and cons for sure about it, but overall I really do love having this as my job. I don't know what the future holds. I'm gonna ride this wave as long as I can though, I know that. Do you have any family/friends who aren't vaccinated that you still see, and how do you handle it? No. I mean, yes, but no. So we do have people that we know that aren't vaccinated. We are currently not seeing unvaccinated people, especially having unvaccinated people in our home. It's just a decision that we've made, especially with the new variants going around. It just feels very, very risky, and we haven't seen a lot of people, and it's really unfortunate, but that's their decision that they've made. We can't change their mind, and so they don't have access to us at the moment. I want to hear about your past growing up in the church. I got a lot of questions about the church and like what was the wildest thing that I heard in the church that was like infuriating. A lot of things, but I do remember specifically, this isn't like the church, but this is religion based, and I'll kind of end it here because this was a wild thing. I think I've talked about this before, but I do remember in like 1st or 2nd grade, I was going to a Christian school, a Christian private school, and we were getting ready to go on a field trip to a museum. And I remember specifically the like school officials pulling everyone aside before we went into the museum and sitting us down and telling us that the people in the museum were going to be telling us things that weren't true. They said like, oh, these people that work at the museum are gonna tell you that the world has been around for billions of years, but it hasn't, because we know how long it's been around for, because the Bible says yada yada. And so when they tell you, oh, this is this many million years old, just know that they're lying. It's not true. I'm dead serious. I remember this vividly. So we were walking around this museum and they were giving us a tour and they were talking about dinosaurs and all these different periods in time. And then when they would say things like so and so million years ago, we would all be like sneering in the corner and snickering like, we know that that's not true. And it's like so infuriating to look back on that at such a young, impressionable age, they were already teaching children to not trust science and scientists. Like, that probably is why we have the problems we have today, but also just like the sort of politics that were involved, the popularity contest that was involved in like my youth group experience. Maybe I'll do like a whole video talking about my religious experience growing up and how I never felt connected to it, how I always felt very distant from it, how I always felt like an outsider. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't a good enough Christian. I was kind of looked down upon by my fellow Christians. I don't know, let me know if you would want me to do like an entire video like that. I don't want to like push any buttons, but I feel like there are a lot of people who can relate to that type of thing and are on the same page with me there. So let me know if you'd want to see that. But in the meantime, I hope that I answered enough of your questions. And if I didn't, then let me know and I'll do another one. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can also turn on my post notifications if you want to be notified every time I post a new video. If there's anything else you want to know, I'll probably talk about it on my vlog channel. So if you haven't checked that out, it's always linked in the description box below. I really go deep on that channel. We talk about a lot of different stuff. It's kind of more day-to-day life. So if you like the more personal side of things, I recommend following me over there. A lot of people actually don't know that I have a vlog channel and I post to it twice a week. So there's a lot of vlogs. Thank you for being here and stopping by on your journey on the internet today. It means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.